Right, first, Keir Starmer, still up to the job of being Prime Minister? What do you think? We're taking your calls on this now. 020 7862 2222. He's been warned by members of his own party that time is running out to repair the government's reputation. It follows a disastrous week in which he lost two of his senior party figures to scandal, adding to a long line of notable departures. And the funny thing about Starmer is the way when he loses people, it's always in the most awkward way. So here we have a little AI image for you of Peter Mandelson with his embarrassing friend, Jeffrey Epstein, on a beach somewhere. And then what happens? Of course, he has to resign. And Mandelson has to say, I fell for his lies. I felt his association with the financiers like an albatross. I regret it. He called him my best pal. I may have not have known he was a paedophile. We don't know. But there's a guy who's supposed to be a diplomat and has behaved extremely undiplomatically. So Mandelson goes. What's the next one? Here's a strange one when you're looking at people resigning over things. This is Louise Hay, who resigned over a phone, the lawmaker who was a lawbreaker. So she was Transport Secretary. And what happened was she reported her phone as stolen when she still had it in her possession. So it then rang and the police then chased it and found she still had it. She said she was mugged for it. She still says this was all a bit of a misunderstanding, but she pleaded guilty to misleading the police a decade ago over this phone. So there's no way around that. Louise Hay, law maker, law breaker. The classic in the last few weeks, of course, has been Miss Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, buys the seaside flat in Hove. There's an AI image again. Housing Minister who avoided stamp duty. It couldn't be more embarrassing, and it becomes such a big story here. This is actually an American website, NBC News. UK Deputy Leader quits in property tax scandal, a major blow to embattled Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Somehow, if she hadn't been Housing Minister, it might not have been as bad. OK, this is Tulip Siddiq, who's caught up in she's the corruption, or was the corruption minister. She put on trial for corruption in Bangladesh. The mind is blown. We should not prejudge her guilt or innocence here because it could be a political thing. She's accused of influencing her aunt, who was ousted as Bangladesh's Prime Minister last year, to secure a plot of land in a suburb. Then Rushanara Ali. Again, you can't make this stuff up. What's her job? Homelessness Minister. What does she do? Boot out her own tenants. And then when her tenants were gone, she then hikes the rent by £700 a month. Again, lost her job. Quite a few others have lost their job in pretty awkward ways. The whip who didn't want to whip, the Annalise Dodds resignation over international aid. Andrew Gwynn, we must mention, Public Health Minister. His WhatsApp messages show that he's joking that it would be better if certain constituents died than that they were allowed to continue their complaints about what he was doing. So these resignations, Paulette, they're crazy.
They are, and as you know, I have been coming on this show for a number of months, and I am a great supporter of Sir Keir Starmer. He's actually a lovely man, I'll put it out there, but I'm a backbencher, and at the end of the day, some of the decisions over the last year, it is worrying. And we're getting to the stage now where I don't think Labour is going to be able to make too many more mistakes without it causing him his role.
Well, what's the biggest one? Of those resignation ones, he's accused of hanging on to people beyond the point he should have done. Is that the problem for you?
For me, the one that has really impacted me is the Mandelson one.
OK.
The others, they are what they are. But the Mandelson one has impacted me because Peter Mandelson was in the last government. He got sacked twice at that point. We then said there was nobody else in the whole of the world that could go to America and become the ambassador, and we picked Peter Mandelson. I was prepared to go with that. But then on Wednesday and Thursday, when he then got sacked, and some of the emails and pictures came out, Number 10 swore blind. They know nothing, or they didn't know as much as they needed to know until Wednesday night. And if you remember, Sir Keir, the Prime Minister, has absolutely strengthened the rules to be in public life. So as soon as he found out what was going on, he did sack him on Thursday morning.
This seems to be a really big thing for Labour backbenchers, actually. That they didn't really want Mandelson to get the job, and they certainly didn't want a 24-hour period where Starmer backed him despite knowing about the stuff,
but he said,
some of the stuff.
I've got to stop you there. He said he didn't know it was as bad as it was. If it comes out of Number 10 that they are lying, well, then that's a different story.
There's a photo of Mandelson blowing out the candles on Epstein's birthday cake when he was 53, which was actually after he'd been charged.
Oh, absolutely. In 2010... we already knew that Mandelson was staying in the Manhattan townhouse of Jeffrey Epstein, who'd been convicted as a paedophile and child attacker in 2008. Surely that would have rung alarm bells. But, Paulette, I've got to ask you about Commons procedure. I'm told all day yesterday, because I, read things and speak to people, Kemi Badenoch and the Tories were bombarding Number 10 with the question, what happened and what was the time sequence? Because there is a possibility, and I say it's only a possibility, that when the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, stood up in the House of Commons at PMQs and said he had full confidence in Peter Mandelson, right, the UK ambassador to the United States, did he already know from the night before of the extent of the gravity of the messages that we're talking about? And if so...
And my response to you is, as an MP...
misleading the House.
OK.
He's made it absolutely clear that he didn't know the gravity till Wednesday night.
Somebody hadn't told him then.
And so if it comes out that that is not the truth, then we have a different story.
OK, right, let's just get a call. That's really interesting, because I hear the word if very loudly there. And yesterday I was listening to the radio and there's one of your colleagues, Graham Stringer, on, who said very similar. He said, we need to find out if Starmer lied. That's essentially what he said. OK, Cathy in Cheshire, you think he's doing OK?
I don't think the problem is the Prime Minister or the Cabinet, but it's the backbenchers and other people who would vote down anything realistic and sensible that they brought in. Just generally, journalists, government people of influence, don't want to listen to the public. Hundreds of thousands of people walked and stood there on Saturday, and 5,000 people on another point as well. But they seem to have the attitude that voters are just sheep who need further sessions of brainwashing to conform. They won't listen. My attitude is, if you were hosting a party in your house, you can't just chuck money everywhere and your life savings and spend everything, and then on top of that, invite more and more people to eat the cake.
I don't.
And then wonder,
I'm not following. Are you following?
For the future?
I am not following what you're saying. I'm surrendering here, because I thought you were backing the march at the weekend. Is that right?
I'm a person who's in between. I don't want...
In between racism. What? You're talking about the Tommy Robinson thing, yeah?
Attitudes on things like this. I don't want people being racist and nasty and insulting people, but at the same time, I'm sensible enough to realise that this can't go on without effects on the future.
OK. All right, I've got you. I heard you initially saying you backed Starmer. I'm totally confused. I should say this week, actually, you've got a couple of things coming along. There's Trump coming, so that might rescue it a bit, although that
or plunge it into deeper chaos.
I know, because people shout a question about Epstein to Trump and the whole visit crashes. Yeah. He's got the first returns to France under the small boat 1-for-1 scheme.
Today.
There's something on nuclear power as well going on. So
building nuclear power stations.
Exactly. So they're trying to get a bit of momentum. I wonder whether the problem's going to be this guy, Morgan McSweeney, who's his right-hand man, who may have been backing Mandelson for the job and then telling Starmer not to take away
I totally agree. There's a history between Morgan McSweeney and Mandelson which goes back years, and it is said Mandelson was running British UK foreign policy through Morgan McSweeney from Washington.
Right, well, we'll see. After the break, we're taking more of your calls. Is Starmer still up for the job as Prime Minister? 0207. How are you doing, Paulette? I'm worried you're going into your zone of worrying about your leader. I could just see you were in a fugue state there.
I am in a fugue state because you know something. I was desperate for us to get into power, and I'm desperate for us to achieve, and I'm desperate for my Prime Minister to achieve. And at the moment, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing.
I hear that. That's very, very honest of you.
I'll put it honestly.
Well, we always welcome honesty here. Meg in Staffordshire, hi.
Hello, Jeremy.
Do you think he's still up to the job, Keir Starmer?
No. I don't want to repeat what everybody else has said. What I want to refer to is his record. When he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, he said he didn't know about Jimmy Savile. Well, anybody knows, if you're at the top, any high-profile case like that, the staff should know it goes straight to the boss. And then there was when he was leader of the opposition. He was terrible, especially during the pandemic. He didn't have an idea in his head.
Well, he won the election, though. Hang on. If you're terrible, you don't win a 150-seat majority.
Well, he happened to be the leader, so he did. But going by his record, he wasn't really capable of being Prime Minister as far as I'm concerned.
What about, I'm going to throw a swerve ball here at you. What about when he sits in the room with Trump? He did definitely behave in the right way. He managed to be sufficiently servile, but also have his own spine.
Well, yes. I believe he's a nice man, so he knows how to be nice to people.
Well, I mean, but we're the only ones with a positive trade deal with the USA.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
No?
I think that was down to one thing and one thing only. He had a letter in his pocket from the King inviting Donald Trump to the state visit, which is going to happen this week. And without that, I don't think he'd have got anywhere. It'll be very interesting to see what happens after this.
Well, ironically, it might have been down to Mandelson as well. You never know. Thank you, Meg. That's a vote against Keir Starmer. This was this thing where they were supposed to just stop for a photo, these pictures we were showing you. And Trump turns it into a press conference, and Keir Starmer's poor wife is stuck in the middle of a press conference. Right, yeah. John in London, hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
John, what do you think?
Oh, Starmer, how much longer should the British public put up with Starmer's claptrap? I will stop the boats, he said. Complete failure. I will make British politics clear. Have a look. Four of his MPs have had to quit the jobs they were doing. Then there's the appointment of Mandelson. A complete failure in politics he was. He stood by him in the Commons, and yet Number 10 have received an email the day before about this. So is he telling the truth, or will heads fall?
Yeah. Well, it looks. I think if you're Starmer, what you've got to try and say is, look, that the email didn't reach me.
Well,
you've got. I know, John.
But John's right. He's the leader of the country. He's the head man, and he should say all the information comes to my desk. The buck stops here.
I found it very confusing, Paulette, because when the Mandelson story came out, and it was a big document dump, so it had birthday cards and messages and all kinds, best pal, and then even when Epstein was convicted, Mandelson was still backing him. And in that moment, you knew he was going to have to resign, no question. And then I turn on Prime Minister's questions, and Keir Starmer defends him. And I still can't work out why. Exactly. Why would he do that?
I am not in Sir Keir Starmer's head. I'm not in the Prime Minister's head. I personally would not have defended if I'd not read the information, as he said he hadn't. Exactly. And he could have done an holding point. But clearly at the time, nerves and what have you, he said, I have confidence.
Yeah. John, anything else?
No, the man's a complete failure. The lady backing him up, she's a good Labour MP, but... she's not amongst the elite, so they won't even listen to her.
That's a bit harsh.
Well, it's harsh in the sense that the best people are the backbench MPs. We know that, you know.
Yeah, I'm not
knocking
being harsh, but like they stand by him, and yet he won't stand by them when the time comes.
OK, John, thank you. Who would you like to be leader if Keir Starmer were to suddenly disappear?
I wasn't hoping for us to look at that, but I don't know. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, people need to have confidence in us and in the Prime Minister and running
disappearing,
this
isn't
country.
it, the confidence? I mean, we talked about the vote and he got in a general election, but only 1 in 5 adults of voting age voted for Keir Starmer. 20% of the people of this country voted for him. That's why he has no public support out there.
It's a weird one. They did something incredible, Labour. They took all their election campaigning power and they put it into the marginal seats, and it was amazing. OK, Ray in Nottingham, hi.
Hello, good morning.
Is Starmer up to the job?
He was never up to the job. And just to correct something that one of your viewers said, on paper, he won the election. In truth, the Conservatives donated it to him.
Yeah, more
Well,
right.
their vote collapsed. It was
so-
called, the Mail had a good phrase. They called it the Loveless landslide.
That's right.
That's quite a good phrase. I should say, though, just in terms of trying to do a bit of balance here, he's got some good news coming with he may do a deal with Trump on small nuclear power plants, Ray. Is that useful?
It's for the country, but he attacked the pensioners as soon as he came in with the winter fuel allowance, and after it was reneged, he turned around and said, "But it was the right thing to do."
Yes, well, that's an old one. Yeah, that's not...
looking at the overall picture, if Keir Starmer goes, which I hope he does, and he will. Because if this lot think they're going to get in at the next election, they're crying in the wind. Where have we got a good politician in the UK to be Prime Minister? I don't see one.
Well, you're talking about a Labour politician, because they'll still be in power.
Any politician from any party.
Nigel Farage? I don't know.
I think he's going to get in, or at least be in charge of
Kemi Badenoch? What about Ed Davey?
Well, he was in charge of the post office for 2 years and people were being sent to prison. He didn't stop that, did he?
You've got a good memory.
Yeah,
You've got a
true.
good memory.
Yeah. But,
thank you, Ray. OK, we better move on, Ray, but thank you. Jean in Dorset, hello.
Hi there. Morning, everyone.
We're in search. The first caller I thought was backing Keir Starmer, but then seemed to be choosing between Keir Starmer and Tommy Robinson. So we're still looking for the first person to say he's doing a good job.
He's not doing a good job. He should go. He never should have been appointed in the first place. Watch that man's body language. Boggle-eyed, pursed lips. Help, mummy. I don't know what I'm doing. He should go.
We got Barbara as well. Barbara?
I think you should stay. Why do you all keep filing all this horrendous stuff on Starmer? They haven't been in long enough to sort things out.
That's true.
Give them a chance. And as for Mandelson, this is a cover-up for Trump. Trump's involved in Epstein. So is all the other politicians. And also, what about when the Conservatives give all that money to the cronies for COVID? Have we got it back?
Oh,
no.
That is always... We're never far away from a reference to Michelle Mone. Thank you, Barbara. There we are. That's one thing in Labour's favour, is that the last lot had 14 years. Yeah. Thank you for your calls on this. It does look bad for Keir Starmer. Let's see if the Trump visit turns it around. Later we'll ask if stag and hen do's are a complete waste of money. People